He was hacked and completely ruined until I, a pizza delivery girl, did what no programmer could. Welcome back with a new real shock story. Before we start, comment and tell me which city you're watching from. At the end, don't forget to subscribe and rate it from 0 to 10. Let's enjoy the story, everyone.
It all started on what I thought would be just another ordinary day. I had my morning coffee, my laptop ready, and a to-do list that looked harmless enough. I wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. I was careful, responsible, the kind of person who double-checked passwords and never clicked suspicious links. My friends always joked about me being paranoid, but that caution had become second nature. I laughed along with them, but deep down, I knew I had to protect myself. I remember sitting at my desk, the sunlight filtering through the blinds, casting stripes across the room. My emails, my projects, my personal files, they were all neatly organized. Everything I had worked for, every late night, every painstaking effort, was right there. And yet, in the back of my mind, I couldn't shake a tiny nagging feeling, a whisper that maybe, just maybe, something could go wrong. I pushed it aside. I had to. Life doesn't stop for fear. I had no idea that in just a few hours, that feeling would explode into a nightmare. My first warning was subtle, almost laughable if it weren't so terrifying. I tried to open my email, and the password wouldn't work. I shrugged it off, thinking I had typed it wrong. Again, and then again. My heart started to thump faster. Something wasn't right. I tried to log into my cloud storage, the place where I kept almost everything. Denied. Error. Locked out. A cold wave of panic ran down my spine. This wasn't normal. My stomach tightened as I realized someone had broken into my accounts. Every password, every backup, compromised. I couldn't believe it. I had been careful. I had done everything right. How could this happen to me? And then, I saw the message flashing on my screen. Your files have been deleted. There is nothing left. I sank into my chair, feeling the weight of everything crushing me. The hours, the memories, the work. It was all gone. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I felt so exposed, so small, as if the world had suddenly decided to punish me for existing. I thought about all the people who had helped me along the way, all the friends and mentors, and suddenly, I felt entirely alone. No one could fix this. Not my friends, not the tech support people I called desperately, not even the best programmers in the world. I wandered around my apartment like a ghost, my mind spinning, trying to make sense of the impossible. How does someone fight something invisible? How do you reclaim what you've lost when there's no physical evidence, no clues, nothing? That's when it hit me. I wasn't going to be rescued by someone with technical skills or fancy tools. I needed help, but it wouldn't come from the people I expected. Hours passed, and my despair deepened. I had cried, yes, but the tears didn't help. I had paced the room, screamed into pillows, and stared blankly at my empty screens. Nothing could bring back what was gone. I had lost not just files, but a part of myself, my confidence, my sense of safety, my trust in the world. And then, at the edge of hopelessness, something, or someone, appeared. It was the pizza delivery girl. I know it sounds ridiculous. A simple, ordinary delivery, like one I had ordered countless times before. But that night, she carried more than a pizza. She carried the chance for a miracle. Her timing was uncanny, almost cinematic. I barely noticed her at first, so consumed by my despair. And yet, there was something about her presence. A calm certainty, a brightness in her eyes, that made me pause. Maybe, just maybe, this moment could change everything. I opened the door, my hands trembling, unsure of what to say. She smiled politely, holding the box. But there was something else there too. A determination. Like she knew exactly what to do. And then she did it. She did something no one, not a single programmer, had been able to do. I watched in disbelief, my heart racing faster than ever. Could a stranger really undo hours, days, even years of devastation in one simple, unexpected move? By the time she left, my world had shifted. Not everything was solved, not everything was perfect, but something profound had changed. I realized that sometimes hope comes from the most unlikely sources. Sometimes the hero isn't the one you expect, the one who's trained, skilled, or powerful. Sometimes the hero is just someone ordinary, showing courage, empathy, and quick thinking in the face of impossible odds. That night, I sat back at my desk, the glow of the computer screens no longer threatening but comforting. I thought about the fragility of life, the invisible threads that hold everything together, and how easily it can all unravel. And I thought about the pizza delivery girl, the stranger who reminded me that even in the darkest moments, hope can arrive in the most unexpected form. And I still remember the question that lingered in my mind as I closed my laptop and looked out the window at the quiet city lights. How many times do we overlook the ordinary heroes around us? How many chances for redemption and salvation pass by because we're too focused on the obvious, the expected, the trained? That night, my life was changed. Not just by the hack, not just by the loss, but by the realization that courage and hope can come from anyone, anywhere, at any time. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was racing in every direction at once, the events of the day replaying like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the words on my screen. Your files have been deleted. There is nothing left. I felt the hollowness inside me grow heavier, a pit of despair I couldn't climb out of. But even in that darkness, I couldn't ignore the spark of hope that had arrived with her, the pizza delivery girl. The next morning, I sat at my desk, staring at the blank computer screens like you were accusing me. Every project, every document, every little piece of my life stored digitally had vanished. And yet, somehow, I was alive. Somehow, there was still a chance to fix things. But how? I didn't know the first step. I tried to retrace the hack, check logs, call support, but every avenue ended the same way, with a wall of dead ends and cold error messages. Panic and frustration started to gnaw at me again, and for the first time, I felt my control slipping. Days passed, and the isolation settled in. Friends called, asked if I was okay, but I couldn't tell them. How do you explain that someone has stolen not just your work, but your sense of safety, your confidence, the life you've built online? They would never understand. And even worse, every time I thought about getting help from professionals, I remembered the programmers I had already reached out to. The ones who had promised solutions, who had said, "Don't worry, we'll fix this," and had done nothing. I felt betrayed, abandoned by the very people who were supposed to know how to help. It was in that desperate haze that I realized I had no choice but to act on my own. But I was scared. Every action felt risky. Every decision could make things worse. What if I clicked the wrong thing? What if I made the hacker angrier? What if they had left some hidden trap I couldn't see? I paced my apartment, my hands shaking, my heart pounding, trying to convince myself that I could handle this. I had no one else. It was me against an invisible enemy that seemed smarter, faster and crueler than I could ever imagine. And then, something incredible happened. The same pizza delivery girl appeared again. It felt like fate, like the universe had sent someone ordinary with extraordinary timing. I wasn't expecting her to do anything. I just assumed she was delivering another pizza. But she didn't leave. She stood there quietly, watching me panic, and then asked one simple question. "Have you tried this?" And before I could respond, she began doing something I couldn't understand. She worked quickly, confidently, in ways that didn't make sense to me. No fancy equipment, no complex coding, just actions that somehow started reversing the damage. I watched, frozen and amazed, as one by one, pieces of my work began to reappear. Files I had thought lost forever were coming back. It was like watching a miracle unfold in real time. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. Could this really be happening? Could one person, someone ordinary, undo what professionals had failed to fix? But even as hope surged, fear lingered. How did she know how to do this? Was it safe? Could the hacker retaliate? My emotions flipped between relief and terror, excitement and dread, in a dizzying cycle. Every small success brought a moment of triumph, immediately shadowed by the nagging question, what if this isn't enough? By the evening, some of my most important files were restored, but the hacker's shadow still loomed over me. Every notification made me jump. Every strange email, every unknown login attempt, every unfamiliar pop-up on my screen was a reminder that the danger wasn't gone. I realized that even though I had survived the immediate crisis, the world I thought I knew, the safe, orderly life I had built online, had been shattered. And I couldn't ignore that feeling of vulnerability, the realization that my safety, my work, my life could be taken in an instant. Yet, despite it all, a strange calm began to settle in. I wasn't powerless anymore. I had been tested, pushed to the edge of despair, and yet, here I was, still standing. The ordinary hero had shown me that even in moments of total helplessness, courage, and quick thinking could change the course of events. And I began to understand something crucial. Sometimes, survival isn't just about skill. It's about trust, timing, and the willingness to accept help from the most unexpected places. And as I closed at my laptop that night, exhausted but determined, one thought kept echoing in my mind. The hacker might have tried to ruin me, but they hadn't broken me. Not yet. And if I could get through this, if I could survive the next wave of challenges, maybe I could reclaim not just my files, but my life, my confidence, and my sense of control. The real question now wasn't whether I would survive. It was what I would do next, and whether I could turn this nightmare into something meaningful, something that mattered not just to me, but to anyone who had ever felt powerless in the face of injustice. The next morning, I woke up with a knot in my stomach I couldn't shake. The previous day had felt like a roller coaster, a mix of hope and fear. And yet, I knew it wasn't over. The hacker was still out there, still watching, still controlling parts of my life that I couldn't touch. Every email alert made my pulse spike. Every notification felt like a warning shot. I didn't know what to expect next, and that uncertainty was almost worse than the disaster itself. I sat at my desk, staring at the partially restored files, and my hands trembled. The pizza delivery girl had helped me recover some of the most critical data, but the hacker had left a message this time. Just a single line, cold and precise. "You think this is over? You're only beginning to understand what I can do." My stomach dropped. I had felt powerless before, but now it was personal. This wasn't random. This was targeted. I was being hunted in a way I couldn't see or fight directly. Fear clawed at me, but anger started to rise too. How dare someone invade my life, take everything I worked for, and leave me terrified? Every ounce of my energy wanted to fight back, to reclaim what was mine, to make them pay in some way. But I didn't know how. I had no technical skills to match theirs. Every solution I tried alone ended in frustration. And yet, there was one lesson I had learned. Sometimes, the ordinary can be extraordinary. That thought kept me from completely collapsing under despair. I decided to take small steps. I secured my accounts as best as I could, changed passwords repeatedly, and tried to back up the files that had been restored. It was exhausting, mentally and emotionally, like running a marathon with no finish line. Every click, every decision felt weighted with consequences. But just as I thought I might collapse, I heard a knock at the door. My heart leapt. I knew who it was. The pizza delivery girl appeared again, calm and focused, carrying another box, but this time, it wasn't pizza. She handed me a small USB drive. I stared at it, unsure what it contained, unsure if I trusted it. But before I could ask, she explained, in simple, confident terms, a method to protect my data, to shield myself from further attacks. Her instructions were clear, precise, but they were also intuitive. Easy for someone like me to follow, even if I wasn't a programmer. I realized then that what she was doing wasn't just helping me recover files. She was giving me power, teaching me to fight back in ways I didn't think were possible. For hours, we worked together, restoring what we could and reinforcing what remained. I felt a strange mix of awe and disbelief. How could someone with no formal training accomplish what so many experts couldn't? Every restored file felt like a small victory. Every step forward a defiance against the invisible enemy trying to control my life. But the hacker wasn't finished. The next alert on my screen froze me in place. They had found another vulnerability. This time, the threat was more dangerous, more personal, and it hit closer to home. I felt my chest tighten, my hands shaking again. The realization that this could spiral further, that my life, my privacy, and even my sense of safety were at risk, made me want to give up. But then I thought of her, of the ordinary girl who became my hero. I couldn't let fear win. I had to act, to continue, to protect what little I had left. I couldn't let the hacker see me break. Hours turned into an endless blur. Each new attack brought a wave of terror and adrenaline, forcing me to react quickly. The hacker seemed to anticipate my moves, almost as if they were reading my mind, always one step ahead. Every small victory felt temporary, every solution fragile. Yet, I couldn't stop. I couldn't surrender. Not now, not after how far I had come, not after the help and trust that had been extended to me. And then came the moment I had feared and hoped for all at once. The hacker tried something bigger, more daring. A deep intrusion, aiming to wipe everything I had rebuilt. I froze, staring at my screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard, heart pounding. The fear of losing it all again was suffocating, almost paralyzing. But I remembered what she had taught me, and I followed her instructions carefully, step by step, holding my breath. Slowly, painstakingly, the attack was neutralized. I stared at the screen, disbelief and relief mingling into tears I couldn't hold back. I had survived another wave, another test. But I knew the fight wasn't truly over. The hacker had shown their skill, their cruelty, and their persistence. And I had seen my own vulnerability, my own fragility. This experience was breaking me down, but it was also teaching me resilience I didn't know I possessed. By the end of that day, I realized that my life had changed forever. The hacker, the loss, the fear. They had forced me into a battle I never asked for, but one I was learning to fight. And the ordinary hero, the pizza delivery girl, had shown me that sometimes courage and brilliance don't come from training or titles. They come from willingness, timing, and a fearless heart. I sat back, exhausted, my body trembling, and whispered to myself, if I can survive this, what else can I survive? And deep down, I knew the answer. Whatever comes next, I would face it. Because I had already stared into the void and refused to fall. The next attack came faster than I could have imagined. I was sitting at my desk, exhausted from the previous days, when suddenly, every screen in my apartment flickered. Files vanished, pop-ups exploded across my desktop, and an eerie silence settled over the room, broken only by the faint hum of my computer. My chest tightened. My hands froze over the keyboard, and my stomach dropped into a pit I hadn't felt before. The hacker had escalated. This wasn't just a test anymore. They were taking everything at once. I tried to stay calm, to think clearly, but my mind was spinning. Every warning I had ignored now screamed at me. You are vulnerable. You are exposed. You are alone. I reached for the USB drive the pizza delivery girl had given me, the one she had said could shield me from this kind of attack. My hands shook as I inserted it, praying it would work. Every second felt like an eternity. The hum of the computer turned into a deafening roar in my ears. And then it happened. A single pop-up appeared. You have nowhere to hide. My heart skipped, my breath caught, and panic threatened to swallow me whole. This wasn't random anymore. This was personal. They knew me. They had studied me. They were taunting me. I felt powerless, trapped in a digital cage that I couldn't escape. I wanted to scream, to run, to throw the computer out the window, but I knew it wouldn't help. The hacker had turned my life into a battlefield, and there was no escape. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to breathe, trying to think, and I remembered her. The pizza delivery girl. Her calm face, her precise instructions, the way she had given me hope when I had none. I realized then that this moment was my chance. I could cower, or I could fight. And I wasn't about to let fear win again. I followed every instruction she had taught me, step by step. I monitored every alert, blocked every intrusion, and carefully rebuilt defenses around my most precious files. The hacker was clever, faster than I could keep up with at first, but I was determined. Every time I thought I had been beaten, I dug deeper. Every time despair rose, I reminded myself that I wasn't helpless. I had survived this far. I could survive this too. Hours felt like minutes, minutes like seconds. The tension in my chest was unbearable. My palms were raw from typing, my eyes strained from staring at screens that seemed to mock me. And then, the turning point came. I noticed a pattern in their attacks, a flaw hidden beneath the chaos. With trembling fingers, I acted, exploiting the weakness no one else had seen. Slowly, the files that had been threatened began to stabilize. The chaos receded, and the pop-ups disappeared one by one. I couldn't believe it. After hours of fear, of adrenaline, of sheer terror, I realized the attack had been neutralized. My breath came in ragged gasps, my knees buckled, and I sank to the floor, tears streaming down my face. I had faced the worst, and I had survived. But even as relief washed over me, a quiet fear lingered. The hacker was still out there, still capable, still waiting. This wasn't the end of the battle. It was just the climax. I stared at my screens, exhausted but alive, and understood something profound. The hacker had tried to break me, to crush my spirit, to take everything I loved. And yet, here I was, not broken, not defeated. I had faced the impossible, leaned on courage and guidance from an unlikely hero, and emerged stronger. I realized that survival wasn't just about technical skill. It was about persistence, hope, and refusing to let fear control you. I whispered to myself, exhausted, victorious, and wary. I survived. But how many more challenges will come? And will I be ready when they do? That question hung in the air, heavy and haunting, as the city outside my window remained quiet, oblivious to the battle that had just taken place inside my small apartment. By the time dawn broke, I was still sitting at my desk, exhausted beyond words. My eyes were red, my body trembling, but there was a strange, quiet sense of peace settling over me. The hacker's attacks had stopped, for now, but the experience had left a permanent mark on me. I realized that what I had endured wasn't just about files or computers. It was about fear, vulnerability, and the fragility of the life I thought I controlled. I thought about the pizza delivery girl, the ordinary stranger who had become my unexpected hero. She didn't have a title, she wasn't a programmer, and she certainly wasn't famous. Yet, she had given me something far more powerful than technical skill. She had given me hope, guidance, and courage when I had none. She reminded me that sometimes, the people we overlook can be the ones who save us, not just from disaster, but from ourselves. Looking back, I realized how close I had come to losing everything, not just my work, but my sense of trust and confidence. The hacker had tried to crush me, to make me feel small and helpless, and for a moment, I had. But I had survived. And surviving had taught me more than any success ever could. It taught me resilience, the strength of ordinary people, and the importance of refusing to surrender in the face of injustice. I also thought about the larger picture. My story wasn't just mine. It was the story of countless people facing threats, injustice, or attacks they didn't deserve. It was a reminder that the world can be cruel, and sometimes the odds feel impossibly stacked against you. But it was also a reminder that courage, empathy, and unexpected heroes exist everywhere. You just have to notice them, and sometimes you have to let them in. Even now, as I sit here telling this story, I can still feel the fear, the panic, the helplessness that consumed me. But I also feel gratitude, awe, and determinate. I survived because someone believed in action when the experts couldn't, because I refused to give up, and because hope can arrive in the most unexpected form. And I can't help but wonder, how many other people have faced attacks like mine, felt helpless, and yet never received that lifeline? How many chances to save someone's world go unnoticed every day? I made it through that nightmare, but I wasn't unchanged. The fear, the vulnerability, the shadow of what happened, that would stay with me forever. But so would the lesson. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things, and courage doesn't always come from skill. It comes from heart. And as I close this chapter of my life, I ask you to think about this. In a world where so much can be taken from us in a heartbeat, who will be the heroes, the ones who step in when hope seems lost? And more importantly, will you be ready to notice them, or even be one yourself?